Hello everyone, Wolfie here. Do you remember when you were finishing elementary school, they gave you brochures about how to choose your future and education? Well, this is gonna be easier than that. Even if you made a mistake, you can just click a button and start over. How damn cool is that? So this time we are talking about professions again, but to be more precise, viability of professions when it comes to TBC and each class. This is a follow-up video to one of my previous guides on how to earn gold with each profession, which if you haven't checked out yet, go ahead, linked in the corner above and in the description. We are gonna cover how each profession can benefit you personally and the guild for having it, on the PVE scene if it's possible of course. But I'm gonna disregard gold cost, phase of the game, and gonna assume you skilled up your professions to full. Let's go! Alchemy. By crafting trained flasks, potion and elixirs, you have a chance to proc a discovery. It can be any of these flasks, or it can be an entire cauldron, but there is a catch with it. Discovery can be procced only by crafting consumables from TBC expansion. Moreover, cauldrons will proc only from crafting that specific potion. For example, crafting Major Shadow Protection potion will have a chance to proc only a cauldron of Major Shadow Protection or some flask. Cauldrons will be used in boss fights where a lot of magic damage comes from that school of magic. Cauldron is previously crafted by Alchemist and dropped on the spot with 25 uses which yield 1 Major Shadow Protection potion each. For personal bonuses, there is Alchemist Stone Trinket craftable with Alchemy early on in-game. Recipe is bought from the Revered Reputation with Shatar. Trinket itself is all-rounder for every class pretty much, since it gives 15 to all stats available, and Equip Effect gives you plus 40% on every mana or health potion, although it will only be used by people for mana potions. Later on in Phase 6, with the Shattered Sun Offensive faction and their Quartermaster, there will be upgradable versions of this trinket for every role. So healers will get a trinket with plus 119 bonus healing, casters will get a trinket with plus 63 bonus spell damage, melees will get a trinket with 108 attack power, and lastly, tanks will get 54 defense points trinket. One more thing worth mentioning is that this trinket is going to replace your Philosopher's Stone as an item needed for transmutation and will carry the cooldown on its own. Blacksmithing. Rigid and inflexible as it is, blacksmithing still has consumables it can produce, like runes of warding and wards of shielding, weight stones and sharpening stones and so on. Though not as good as we would want them to be, it's worth mentioning, especially shield consumables which absorbs 4k damage before fading. Nice for bigger pull to give a healer time not to over aggro. Second and last thing for blacksmithing is specialization. Blacksmiths specialize in either armorsmith or weaponsmith, and from that down to more specific axesmith, hammersmiths or swordsmith. There are several levels to go through, but most upgraded pieces are gonna have to wait until phase 2 due to nether vortexes. Armorsmith can craft either Bulwark of Ancient Kings, which on use will increase your HP by 1.5k and strength by 150 for 15 seconds, but on 30 minutes cooldown. Or Embrace of Twisting Nether, which on use give you 6 seconds Paladin Bubble, but also on 30 minutes cooldown. Not the worst, but there are decent substitutes outside of blacksmithing and armorsmithing honestly. Weaponsmith as a better choice of specialization gives a variety of weapons depending on your class, spec and playstyle. Stun Herald of course as top weapon of two-handed hammersmith spec. Dragon Strike as a top weapon of one-handed maces, pretty much a previous item for fast hitting melees. From Swordsmith you can benefit from Lionheart Executioner as Retribution or Arms due to bunch of strength and strength proc on it. But Blaze Fury isn't too bad either, at least as a threat weapon for protection warriors, but then again there are good if not better weapons dropping in dungeons and raids which will be acquirable long before Blaze Fury. Lastly, Axesmith can craft Blood Moon as two-handed axe or Wicked Edge of the Plains as one-handed axe, but besides attack power and critical chance, those don't have much to offer. When it comes to patterns that drop through phases, there are neat boots and belt for tanking and previous melee belt in phase 2. Belt being bind on equip. Black Temple Trash is dropping BOP shoulder patterns and BOE bracers patterns, but those are not much different from leatherworking ones, which we will talk about in a minute. In a Sunil raid, trash mobs will have a chance to drop a melee DPS chest pattern with a bunch of strength and armor penetration, and healing chest pattern with crit rating. Next to those BOP patterns there are BOE ones for gloves, which can be good in certain gear loadouts, but leatherworking counterparts will be superior in the majority of cases. Enchanting. As a non-crafting profession, there is not much to mention. First of all, disenchant is there for every soulbound item you get no more use of, except items that cannot be disenchanted. like token gear or badge of justice gear. Enchanters will be able to enchant rings for themselves, as now you won't be able to keep them equipped after dropping enchanting. Among those enchants are plus 12 spell power on each ring, which is a nice flat plus 24 spell damage for good. For healer rings there is plus 20 healing, and for melees and tanks you can pick plus 4 on all stats, or worse variant plus 2 weapon damage. And one more way you can benefit from it is breaking void crystals into large prismatic shards, or combining small prismatic shards into large prismatic shards, and vice versa. Sometimes it is easier to quickly get material you need or to save up some backspace. Engineering. As an engineer, you can help out your guild by acquiring a schematic for mana potion or health potion injectors. Highly useful as it saves a lot of guild wall space or personal backspace. Same goes for repair bots. Just FYI, it drops from this ugly demon. Personal traits for engineers are many. Firstly, goggles, of course. There is a huge variety of goggles for each class. Some are better than others, with the highest upgraded version coming with the latest phase of the game. On the topic of gear, let's mention useful equipable items like trinkets or rocket boots, which don't need their own introduction. Depending on which specialization you go for, you can have trinkets for different uses. Some have long range pull, some can CC mobs or fail miserably. Also under this category we can put the transporters as well, as they do help out with moving to different zones faster and easier. In the Burning Crusade there are useful items you're able to craft with engineering, like Elemental C4 charge as a blasting region to blast open locked doors, such as doors in front of shatter halls and inside one as well, or even Alcatraz. Next one is, or rather are, all kinds of bombs. TBC versions are seizing mobs in its radius as well as dealing a nice chunk of damage, crowned by super sapper chargers. Awesome for AoE tanking or solo AoE farming. Good old jumper cables are still there as well, for classes that can't resurrect allies, although out of combat only. I wonder though if a hunter will be able to fade that and resurrect mid-fight. Jewelcrafting. New profession, but does it have any personal use and viability? Yes, it does actually. Apart from cutting, enhancing or resisting gems for gear, it can have additional use for the players who pursue it, and it keeps giving more through the phases until the end. Firstly, there are so-called JC only gems, stronger than epics but uses rare materials. Since the Blizzard update is covered in this video, you will have to have a jewelcrafting profession in order to equip items gemmed with these unique gems, just like it is a situation with enchanting. Next one is the trinkets. Once again, there are trinkets for every role, but the epic version will have to wait until the endgame. There are two versions of melee trinkets. One gives more passive attack power and an unused effect that spawns a boar that fights for you for 30 seconds, but damage output is rather pathetic. I would rather suggest for every melee who wants a jewelcrafting trinket to go for the Panther version. With phase 6, jewel crafters will be able to choose one of the necklaces whose pattern drop in Sandal Raid from trash mobs. Those necklaces will be best in slot for majority of classes and roles, but only with jewelcrafting profession, meaning that jewelcrafting will be best in slot profession for endgame TBC, because yes, those necklaces are worth it. Lastly, I want to mention rare necklaces that have an unused effect which buffs your party with different buffs, but the most noticeable one is a Chain of Twilight Owl, which gives plus 2% critical chance. Once again, it's a huge number. Bear in mind that these types of necklaces have charges and will get destroyed when used up. Leatherworking. With drums out of picture, not entirely though, what is there left for leatherworking to keep it viable? There are different specializations with unique items for chest, belt and bracers, but I find them too expensive to craft. Yet, if someone thinks they are really good as a set, go ahead. From tier 5 and phase 2, Serpent Shrine Caverns trash mobs will be dropping really nice upgrades for boots and belts, for the majority of classes who choose to pursue leatherworking. Besides, from nether vortexes, these items won't be too expensive to craft actually. Further on, in Black Temple, trash mobs will be dropping different kinds of bracers and shoulder patterns, some of which are even pre-bis endgame, while being bound on pickup, healing leather and mail shoulders, and melee leather and mail shoulders. Bracers, while being really good upgrades, will be bind on equip, but craftable only with leatherworking. And even further on in phase 6, you will be able to craft for yourself a chest piece item, the ultimate bis piece for healers, melees and maybe even feral tanks, all being bound on pickup. Next to those items are bound on equip, but only craftable with leatherworking again. Those will be used by more than one class. Nevertheless, those items are ultimate biz items, which still holds leatherworking high in regard as the best profession in the endgame. Oh, and yeah, trinket you can craft for yourself is the riding crop. Simple, small, and useful, also bind on equip. Tailoring. Tailoring runs parallel to leatherworking when it comes to item pieces that can boost your PvE performance. Maybe even stronger in early game due to entire craftable sets for spellcasters and healers. Of course, I'm talking about Spellfire, Shadowweave, and Primal Mooncloth sets. It is grindy to get, but really powerful. In Phase 2, Tailoring is getting previous items from trash mobs in SSC and TK, belts and boots for casters and healers. So you can say that Tailoring has constant support for the character that pursues it, from start of the expansion until the end. Once you take Tailoring, you don't really drop it, unless you want to, of course. After Black Temple release, there is yet another upgrade. Similar to leatherworking, tailors are getting BOP shoulders and BOE bracers. And again, it is a strong item you won't be taking off soon until you get 4 pieces of tier 6. Sunwell Trash will have the most iconic tailoring pattern that will be very sought after and by my prediction really expensive as well. Pattern for Sunfire Robe is best in slot for casters of any sort. I doubt that there ever will be one just sitting around in someone's inventory without a plan to use it. Next to it, but sadly not as a set piece, is a Sunfire Hand Wraps. Once again, near beast item until the last boss of the instance, and for that reason it's BOE item. Crafting of these pieces is simple, requires a bunch of Shadow Cloth and Spell Cloths, next to Sun Modes, which is also dropped from the mobs and bosses in Sunwell. I'd suggest craft yourself enough cloths for both pieces before Phase 6 is released. Also, a noticeable BOP tailoring pattern that drops in Sunwell is the Robe of Eternal Light. This one will be sought after by priests mainly, along with the BOE pattern for the gloves, which once again are not set items, even though they almost share the same name. From gathering and secondary professions, nothing will directly affect your PvE performance. Except herbalism perhaps, where you can as a mage, warlock or enhance primarily farm flame caps for yourself to boost your fire damage output. And there we have it, a brief overview on how each profession benefits your PvE output and viability. Which professions are you gonna pursue on your main character? Tell me down in the comments. Also, in the meantime, stay safe and have fun playing the game. Until the next video, bye bye!